Today is Wednesday, March 22nd, 2017. I've been asked to say the date more. I don't know why. I think it's because sometimes people feel like they may be pulling up an old show or something like that. So now you know. Now you know what today is. Because I'm the only one on planet Earth with a calendar. Hi, Danny.
Wednesday. Hi.
You know who we're going to have on today's show, Danny?
I know one of the two people that we're going to have on today's show.
And that guy, of course, is Sergei Kharitonov. The other guy is Boss Rutten. He will come on the show to talk about his new sketch comedy skit web series. That is hilarious. Here's the thing. I'm not really into those type of things, but this one is really, really funny. I want to say has nothing to do with knowing the guy. It's just funny. Like, I think if a random person watched it, they would laugh. What do you think?
I absolutely agree. I wasn't even watching it. I was listening to you watch it, and I was still laughing.
Yeah, I'm totally down with this. So hopefully you guys will be able to. He'll give us more information on it when he comes on the show. But I really, really think, especially if you're an MMA fan, you're going to totally dig it. You'll dig it the most. Get these volumes up a little bit. Danny, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a little. Hold on one second. What?
Okay.
No, thank you.
You are up in a minute.
In the background is George. He's doing his last-second preparations.
Yeah, you know. That's standard.
What's new with you, Danny?
Nothing much. Getting ready for... I had a long weekend practice because we're getting ready for our big show coming up in, 2 weeks.
You guys have to do that often?
Yes and no. I mean, we have some fill-ins, and this particular show, one of our main guys can't make it, so we had to have a long practice to, get the fill-in up to speed on everything and make sure they're good.
Get the fill-in up to speed?
Yeah. A fill-in guy.
Does he have a name?
His name is Derek.
That doesn't sound like a band member name.
I know, right? Coming up in 5, stand by.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMAjunkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is going to be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMAjunkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Gold. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMAjunkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communications stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMAjunkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMAjunkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMAjunkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Go.
From the fight capital of the world inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, we bring you MMAjunkie Radio. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me as always is the devious and dastardly Goes, our East co-host. Back east, handling all the producing duties, it's going to be Danny. What's up?
What up? How's your morning going so
Welcome
far?
back, Danny. Good, thank you. And you?
It's good to be back.
Feels good today. I like Wednesdays. A lot of people don't like Wednesdays. I actually like them.
Why is that?
I just feel like I'm that much closer to the weekend. Monday and Tuesday, I feel like I'm coming back from fun.
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday, I feel like fun is coming.
Do you have any plans?
No, none at all.
R&R?
Yeah, a little bit. I finally feel I'm 100% now back from what we call March Madness.
Yeah.
You see that problem you're having right there with Google?
Yeah.
I get that a lot too. What is that? Does anybody know, any of you, I don't want to call you a nerd until after you help me out, but sometimes I go to Google and I want to get information and it just doesn't do anything. And it's only
I get
Google.
that with Chrome, but not with Safari.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because then I'll type in like Yahoo or something like that and it will work.
Yeah.
It bugs this shit out of me.
It looked like it reacted. It just, I don't know. You need to jar it and refresh or who knows what. Hey, look at this. The Nevada State Athletic Commission has reduced Conor McGregor's UFC 202 fine to $25,000 and 25 hours community service.
They just wanted
That's
to make
the throwing
a statement.
the water incident, right?
Yeah, they just wanted to make a statement. I thought initially it was way too high. I could live with this, man. I mean, that's probably enough money so that you know that guy will probably never do it again, right?
Yeah, I mean, it could have been ugly for sure.
Yeah.
Right? And there was a general public in attendance. You just can't be doing that. Can't be launching shit in a public setting. So I think I'm okay with it too.
You know what's crazy?
The 25 hours community service, though, I wonder if he can serve that in Ireland or if that'll be on one of those times when he's here for a few months.
I think it has to be here.
He's got a pad in Vegas, a pad too, who knows what, access to hotels. You just have to break away and make it a habit, right? Or maybe do, 5-hour days? Be done with it?
Life is so different now from when we grew up. Because if we were one of the people in attendance that day and we got hit with a water bottle, whether it was from Nate or Connor, the next day when you go to school, you go, oh, my God, dude, I saw these two guys that were going at it, Connor and Nate, and they hit me with a water bottle. It was so funny, man. But today,
well, you probably would have been in it too,
we're
right?
We're going to sue, and we're going to do this and do that, and how could you do this, and how could... Life is just different, man. But you got to adapt to what's going on in the world. That's the problem.
Yeah, I agree. I would have been throwing the water bottle too, I think.
Yeah, I think if I got hit, I have every right to pick it up and throw it right back.
Sounds like a food fight on steroids a little. I mean, cans, bottles, that's a bit much, but water bottles, yeah, I've gotten hit with worse than that.
I remember, in high school, I remember Mom yelling at you didn't you start a food fight one time and get in trouble for it in high school?
Well, we were part of them. I don't know if I directly started them, but I'm sure I was.
You put like a tomato or an orange in somebody's back and smashed it, and it started a food fight. I just remember her yelling at you for this.
I don't think I would do that.
I know you were a part of it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I know it was
part
enough
of it,
where you got like a phone call home.
Part of it, yeah. And they're funny. But the worst was the one at the Blink 182.
The trash fight?
Oof. Just nothing will ever compare unless you're just in a bigger arena, and that happens.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone, throw your trash. I remember him saying that. And it just started with cups, People were like, I'm almost done with this Coke. Throwing it. Pick up this water bottle that I just threw on the ground. Throw it. Harmless. But what really sucked was when they had given away, I don't know if it was Blink 182, but it was the Weenie Roast, the 1999 Weenie Roast in Irvine, California. Bunch of bands from the popular station out there, K-Rock, go out there and just do their thing. One right after the other. I guess that's almost like one of the original summer festivals, right?
That's your
in a way.
Lollapaloozas.
Yeah.
Well, but those Weenie Roast is like
now
one
there's
or 2
festivals
days,
everywhere.
Right?
No, it's just one.
It's one day, yeah.
One
so
about
ones are
10
like
straight
2
bands,
days.
big bands too, though. Not like these festivals now where they go so-and-so headlining. And then after that, it's just these little
And
local
friends.
bands. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, this was just like one right after the other. And they go, hey, everyone, throw your trash. Oh, so anyway, I was saying we were already there. Everyone's throwing trash. I had gone with a girl, so I was almost kind of being the white knight, just kind of standing. She was ducking down a little when things were getting, too active, I guess, with the trash. And at first it was easy to just deflect something or whatever, but then it became too much. And it was cause for concern. But then it was funny, dude. It was funny because if you just looked up and you just saw all these missiles going back and forth, you couldn't believe. And event staff was trying to stop it. Hey, you. They got one guy. Hey, you. They got another guy. Hey, you. And then they realized, we're going to arrest everyone. Everyone's doing it. But what made it scary was one of the bands had given away CDs. Mm-hmm. And people started throwing those. And so those were coming in like
I'm a ninja with
hot,
those.
hot frisbees, but, I mean, where you could maybe get sliced. Because an amphitheater is big, so picture the people from the top coming down on the bottom. Have you ever seen the movie The Rock? That's a superior position.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be on the bottom throwing stuff for sure. so that's when it was like, whoa. And I think that's when we just basically hunched up. And I think the band actually had to stop and say, hey, man, cool it, something. I don't know. Or maybe it was over. Maybe people got tired of it. But this literally went on for, if I had to guess, 10, 15 minutes.
Danny or George or Junkie Nation, someone's going to have to help me out with this. But there's a video, and I can't remember who it is. I think it was a musician. I want to say like the Foo Fighters or something, where someone threw a cup of beer, threw it at him, and he caught it.
Dave Grohl?
You know exactly the video you're talking about,
right?
A cup of beer?
I don't know how I can find
a cup of beer.
So it had a lid on it?
It's a plastic cup.
No lid. It stayed intact. It flew. He saw it, caught it one-handed, took a drink of it.
That's boss right there.
Yeah, you want that guy in that fight.
Wow.
I don't know what band it is. It's not like Foo Fighters. It's like a Taking Back Sunday level band.
Something
I know
like
exactly.
That. But yeah, you can
I've
find the
seen
video
many
somewhere, I
times.
bet. But the boss move.
Big time. Where was this? When was this?
This is a couple years ago. There was one that just kind of floated around, but I just remember seeing that. One, I didn't know that beer would actually stay in there. And two, just the fact that he caught it. That was cool. But then when he just took a drink out of it, that's like the
So check
biggest.
this out. I'm not trying to top him or anything like this, but there was this time at Magic Mountain, California, Valencia, California. And my buddy Woody, his mom worked for Cigna. Every year they had a company picnic, and every year they invited me. So we went there, and of course we'd go on the rides and goof off, blah, blah, blah. The one thing we'd like to do, I don't know why, and I'm like, what was it that we threw around? Picture, I guess, something similar to like a hacky sack. And so as we were walking through the crowds, we would throw it and try and make it through people, like thread the needle, throw it back and forth, or if they were coming by, and people would just see something fly in front of their face and be like, whoa, okay, close call, but nothing. Every once in a while, we might hit somebody. Oh, sorry about that, sir. But it was just kind of funny, just barely missing people, threading the needle, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it was time to eat, and there was a long table where we sat at. And it was your typical like summer barbecue type thing.
Mm-hmm.
So beans and corn on the cob and a dog or a burger or chicken or whatever. I sit down at the end of maybe picture a table where there's probably 10 people on one side and 10 on the next. So there's those big banquet tables.
Okay.
And so Woody and I like to just goof off literally since day one. Since whenever I met him and we started hanging out, it was just goofing off. And I remember him saying, George, do you want to roll? And I go, yeah. And he literally threw it from the beginning of the banquet table, sidearm. He just kind of threw it, and it went right down the banquet table. So picture people are eating at the table, and it's whizzing right by their heads. So anybody that's opposite of you, it's going between you and them. And it's just going, right? And I literally went like this, goes like Odell Beckham, and just caught it. Smooth, too. Not even like shaking or here it comes. I just caught it at the last minute, and I just caught it. Well, little did I know that there was probably one more seat, or maybe the next seat. A black gentleman had sat down to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And so had I not caught it, it literally would have nailed him in the face.
Wow. Did he know that was coming, or did he not see it?
I don't think he did. Or if he did, he just said something like, good catch, but never once revealed this would have happened, But I don't know. I think he was in awe. I think I was in awe. I caught it. And I think when he threw, I think the guy was actually going through the process of sitting down, but because there was probably like 3 in his crew, so there was literally like, oh, you sit down here, you sit down here. I know, I'll just sit at the end of the table. I think he was just in the process of sitting down by the time he released it. And so I look back, and Woody had this look like, oh, God, like, thank God you caught it, because that's where it was headed. So I don't think he saw it. But that was my moment.
George's friend Woody is a guy that I don't think any of you guys have ever met. We've never had him on camera. But he did say he's going to come back for the Junkie Gathering.
He did?
Yeah. And he'd be funny to get on for a little bit. I have this video, George, to show you of the guy that we're talking about. Good job, Danny. Danny found this video. So this is a guy, I don't even know what his name is. Do you know what his name is, Danny?
Jeffrey Coffey. Or John Coffey, it says up there.
John Coffey, all right. First of all, he's standing on people, and he caught it and drank it.
That was slick. Do it again.
Let's see. He didn't even see it coming. That's legit, right?
It is. That was 2015. We're a little late to the party on that one, but it is slick. Look at that. He doesn't see it coming. But does he do it one more time? Because it sounds like he motions for something. Oh, no, he doesn't. He doesn't. It looked like he was maybe just getting his balance. Wow. Smooth catch. And you're right. He's standing on people.
Yeah.
You ever done that? Crowd surf?
Hell no, but I'd like to. If you go to a Green Day concert, they like to invite people on the stage.
And you have to dive?
Yeah, when those people try and leave, they tell them there's only one way off the stage.
Does the crowd cooperate, or are they like, hey, on this one, let's miss?
I'm sure. I mean,
like
most of them are like younger people.
You ever seen the bouquet when they try and be funny and they throw it and everyone just says, no, none of us are going to go, and then they force her to throw it again?
No, they cooperate.
I haven't been to a wedding in a while now that I think about it.
I mean, if I'm one of those
I'm not a big fan of them, but.
You just went to a wedding.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, actually, we didn't do that. That's what I meant.
Oh,
so
yeah.
we didn't go through some of the
dance,
steps.
All that stuff.
Exactly.
I hate
Back in the day, we were going to a lot of them, man. And
Muna from Seattle is the king, or from San Francisco, the king of weddings.
Is he?
The king. No, bring up any name. I dare you.
Does he love it?
Nothing to compare with Muna.
Does he love it?
Yeah.
Today we're going to talk to UFC Hall of Famer Bas Rutten. He's also one of their former heavyweight champs. He's got a new comedy series that's coming out, the Bas Rutten Experience. Experiment goes or experience?
I think it's experiment.
I mean, I'm close here.
I got it right here.
Yeah, I want to get it right.
It's the experiment.
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 Yeah. So that is going to be coming out. And so we got to see a few of the trailers. Looks pretty funny. There's some stuff that's going on there. You know, when it first started out, I was like, okay, here we go. It's Bas. He's a friend. I'm going to give him a shot. But a minute in, I was like, what's going to happen here? Then as he started doing some of the funny skits, especially the autograph seekers, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
I was dying. And the guy is so charismatic. He puts everything he has into it. He lets that personality go.
I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
You saw all three?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really good.
Sergei Kharitonov, one of the top heavyweights in the world. May even be one of the top heavyweights you've never heard of. He has had a welcome back fight with Bellator that didn't go his way, by the way. But prior to that, he was just a heavyweight that was highly regarded, who needed a fight at some point again, because we knew him through Pride and Strikeforce, and he had some skills, big Russian kid. But he turned to kickboxing. He just kind of got away from MMA, and now he's doing a round 2 with Bellator. Chase Gormley is his opponent on that same fight card as King Mo and Quinton Rampage Jackson, Bellator 175, on March 31st. So we'll talk to him, see where he's at. I want to gauge and see if there's still like that hunger from when he was younger to be one of the top guys and wear a strap, or who knows. Because you kind of want to question it from being away from MMA so long. Yeah, I get it. The deal wasn't right. Okay, I mean, I don't think he was getting paid that much in kickboxing, right?
I don't think so either.
To be able to say, oh, I see, the money's there. No, the money's not there. Otherwise, Alistair would still be there.
I mean, there's certain events that, the money is pretty good. But
right, you got to win a tournament. You got to get to a certain level. He's not at that level. But, would love to see him wear that strap. Think about it. If Kharitonov is, what's his age? 36. That's young as a heavyweight. It's not an infant, but it's fairly young compared to Hunt, who's 42. Verdum, who's like 39. Barnett, I think, is close to 40. Roy Nelson's 40, excuse me.
Is Mir up there?
Mir's 37. So he can still do this. His overall record is 23-6. And he's no joke, man. He's beaten, going back, all right? I'm going to go back to the beginning here. Here's some of the names he put away. Murillo Hua, Ninja's brother. He beat a middleweight. That's not as big of a deal. It was a big deal back then because the Hua brothers just popped. But Semi Schilt, 3-time, if I'm not mistaken, world K1 Max champion. Not as great of a heavyweight, but an awesome striker who did cross over. But he beat him. Pedro Hizzo, Fabricio Verdum, Alistair Overeem, Andrei Arlovsky, and his losses were to Barnett, Overeem, Big Nog,
No shame in that.
Munson, Alexander Emelianenko, and Javi Ayala was the guy that caught him last November. So I would say, no disrespect to Javi, but he just hasn't accomplished what some of these other guys has accomplished. He was a solid heavyweight. So picture him if he's got a little bit of what he had. Fedor, if he maybe found himself a fountain as well, because he's 38. So he's not as old as some of the other guys that can still bang. Mitrione, we know, is legit. Bobby Lashley's impressed me, man. I know a lot of people like to go, oh, he's Brock Lesnar JV. No, man. He's gotten better every fight. He's just a little older himself, but
he hasn't done anything wrong so far in this process.
It just wasn't as fast as Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar came in and started smashing. But they still have Chet Congo. Is that the same person?
Mm-hmm. She exists. Yeah, I told you.
I think I barely caught a hand. My point is, you need to crown a champion soon. And I'd like to see and hear from him that's a goal of his. You know, it's not just, hey, I heard Bellator's got some money. I'm going to jump in there and grab some cash. God, I want to start hearing more guys talk about the title and being number one. We're in this phase here where it's all about money fights and similar like to the, you notice the college kid that's great in football or basketball, especially basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you put a microphone in front of them and say, what's it like to represent the North Carolina Tar Heels, you know? And rather than hear, well, that's what Jordan came and Worthy and this guy and that guy and Vince Carter. It's just, you know, I'm here to do my thing. And you can just feel there's already a foot out the door. And he's thinking shoe contract, NBA, bitches, gold chains. You know what I mean? A big house, being friends with a rap star. I don't know. I feel like there's no more of like, boy, I'd love to top what so-and-so did, you know, Christian Laettner maybe, and win 2 back-to-back for North Carolina. Get my degree, this, that, whatever. And it's just everything's like money, 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 money.
Totally.
Because that I think MMA has a little bit. Right. Well, luckily the NBA pared it down.
Years.
Right.
Yeah, but even then, that's still
it's still good money. Yeah.
That'll make your life. But you're right. There's a swag that comes with being able to say you have a ring, you're a champion. That's why I feel bad for Barkley. Every time those guys are talking and they all kind of throw to each other like, hey, you've been there before. Mm-hmm. You know what it's like to have to win a championship. I feel bad that Barkley's just got.
He went Game 7. You know, I mean, he did the road. He didn't win the title.
Marino,
you're right.
Dan Marino, another guy.
But he knows what it's like to win big games. And maybe his team did come up short, but sometimes you just run into other teams. In his case, he ran into Jordan. You know, Jordan won 6 titles, so a lot of great players walked away going, damn, Malone and Stockton were 2 others. I think Seattle Supersonics, right? They went up against the Bulls. I can't remember all the teams, but there's just some teams, man, you just can't get over the hump. But anyway, MMA's gotten a little bit of that feel too. You know, pay me. All right, as long as I'm getting paid. What am I getting paid? We've even had a few versions of that with some of the stuff that we deal with. Like, fucking relax a little bit.
Chill out.
Like, pay some dues. Put in some time. Punch a clock. You know, I don't know. Irritating. And I'm not saying Sergei fits there. I just want to hear some of that about him when we interview him. It'll be at 2:45 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:45 a.m. Pacific. Boss will come in at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific. What we're going to do now is take a break. When we come back, we'll start off with some calls. 866-522-2846 is the number to call in. And once again, I guess some of the big news today is Conor McGregor's fine and community service has been reduced to $25,000 for the fine and 25 hours for community service for that water bottle throwing incident here in Las Vegas right before UFC 202. I think we're all pretty stoked about that. Sometimes the NSAC gets a little bit excessive. We'll be right back. We'll talk some more MMA with you. Again, 866-522-2846.
go, 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 go.
Hey, idiot! Yeah, you. Can you please tap that rather large fellow on the shoulder and tell him it's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes? Thank you.
Hey, speaking of, before we get into these calls, yesterday's calls had some final points. Dan from Morgan was talking about retirements. Pickett, Munoz, you enjoyed Pickett leaving the hat. Dan Hardy, I thought, did great with Brad Pickett. You know, it was a tough moment for Pickett, but just letting him know his impact on MMA as a UK fighter. So I thought that was pretty cool. Is what you saw, are you good with that, or is there anything more that the UFC could maybe do for some of these athletes to celebrate that moment? You know, I don't know. I mean, maybe perhaps you go in afterwards and how it's pretty easy to get a cake, right? You know, or maybe a token. How about a token like, hey, you were with us for 20 fights. That deserves this, you know, and I don't know, maybe a wristwatch. I don't know.
Wouldn't you say like 50% of the guys that do retire come back though?
True.
So I would say that's good.
That's why
that's good enough.
I was saying, how about if you've had 20 fights?
Maybe later on, like a couple years later.
Okay.
Like a little ceremony. Like remember when Magic, didn't they give him like a Rolls Royce or something like that? Like when they
Some
retired.
of those guys, Dr. J and Kareem had these tours, man. They were getting nice gifts.
Yeah.
But I think Magic re-retired. Remember, unretired and then re-retired. Mm-hmm. So I get what you're saying, but it was just a general question. Dan basically just said it was cool seeing these guys with their moments, cool. The fans reacting. So I just wasn't sure if there was anything that could be added to that. Mm-hmm. Now I'm basing it off what you see, these retirement parties where everybody goes, gets together. Sometimes it's a formal dinner or a retirement cake. Some people get a wristwatch at 20 years in some companies, or at least they used to, or a pin, like a lapel. Cool. I don't know. Just throwing things out there, seeing what sticks. And if you have an idea, share it with us. 866-522-2846. What could the UFC do for some of these? And it can't be just someone that did
about a bust
6 fights and now they're out. No, I think a little bit more tenure. I think Pickett and Munoz are great examples of bust.
No, bust. Like just the
like
body
the Hall of
and
Fame.
The head. Yeah.
Interesting. Something
and they
again.
Put that at the headquarters.
Yeah, something again where the UFC doesn't feel like, holy shit, every time we do this, it's costing us 15. Because obviously, if they had that, I think they'd be writing a few more checks here and there. But it's not like they don't have it. But you know what I mean? Something where they're not gonna if you present it to them and you go, here you go, that's my idea, and they see 15, 20, they might go, But if you present them something like that, still would mean a lot, but isn't that much, they might go, I think we can do that.
Yeah. Okay.
The other thing that was discussed was Bellator sideshows. That was Brian from Boston. We kind of rushed him off as well. We wanted to make sure Proteus got his 6 points in through that final blast of calls. So Brian.
Well, next time tell him that we're short on time.
Suffered as well. He said something about, I wrote down Bellator sideshows. Do you remember what he was discussing?
Yeah, he was just saying, how because Fedor,
who deserved to be at the top?
Was at top.
Right.
That means that Bellator's still emphasizing the sideshow.
That's a great point. When it's a sideshow, make it a sideshow like they did with Kimbo and Dada. All right, the 305, drama, heat, whatever. Mm-hmm. Throw them in there. But in this case, yes, there's heat from Chael and Vanderlei, the reality show, and just the fact that they don't like each other. Chael used to come at Brazilians really hard. Vanderlei don't take shit from anybody. The van incident, I get that, but the ship sailed a little bit on that. We're excited that they're going to finally settle it, but is it your top billing? No, I don't think so, man. I think Fedor and Mitrione is.
I think so, too.
Fedor's still Fedor. If the other guy, if Chael's still Chael and Vanderlei's still Vanderlei, well, guess what? I think Fedor's still Fedor.
But the thing is, I think we're jumping the gun a little bit in calling it sideshow. I mean, it was only 3 years ago, right?
Right. Well, I just wrote that down. I want to watch the fight. I want to see them all compete.
Hoist and Shamrock. Nobody was sitting around going, we need to run this again. We need to run this again. I mean, that's not a conversation that happens over and over.
Right.
That, to me, is a little bit more sideshow. Kimbo Dada, that's a little bit more sideshow. This is just a fight that is just a little late in coming out. Mm-hmm. But, yeah.
But who should be top?
You got to put Fedor and Emelianenko.
I think so, too.
Anytime you have a guy on the billet, well, not every time, but, I mean, it's a guy that people consider one of the greatest fighters of all time. I mean, I think you got to have him up there.
Yeah. Either way, they're all on the poster. Their names are splattered everywhere, but I think it makes a little bit more sense to do that. Who knows? What do we know? All right, back to the calls. Or let's start the calls. Jersey Mike, start things off. What's up, bud?
Not too much. I just want to talk about the Bellator card myself. I really think the Junkie Nation needs to look at Bellator and all these other organizations and take them at face value and stop comparing them to the UFC, because they are what they are. And I know Goes doesn't want to hear that, but that's what it is. I think the New York media would rather hear Chael than Fedor, because, I mean, Fedor is not going to do too much media for a fight against Mitrione. Chael is going to do tons of media. There's a lot of heat there. I think he's going to make Wanderlei look like, he's not really going to make him look too good. And I think there's going to be a lot of people going to this event. I'm going to be one of them. It's going to be entertaining. There's a bunch of the Russian people in the city. I guarantee that Koreshkov's going to be on the card. They just signed Dylan Danis, who's a world-class jiu-jitsu expert.
What'd you call him the first time? Dan and Dillis.
Dan and Dillis. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that guy's world-class. If he could put it together inside the cage, he's entertaining as hell.
You know what it reminds me of was when Natalie called squid meatball.
Yeah.
It's just one of those that if it slips and it's out there, it could catch traction.
Stitch and
Dillis. Yeah. Mike, that's a good point about the fact that does kill Fedor. He won't say shit, and he can speak English, and he still insists on having the translator there. It's like at some point you got to break down and go, you know what, I've been working on it. Let's do this.
I think it's what makes him cool, to be honest.
I suppose, but
because he stands out, he's different from everyone else.
I suppose, but there's got to be a time where he just expands on it a little.
Maybe
because, like JDS didn't speak it as well early on, but now he fucking flows. He'll give you a great interview. You know what I mean? So yeah, but I hear what you're saying, Goes, but the mystique is established. He's done what he's done. He's a former champ. He's a legend. He's this, whatever. So we're not sitting around kind of going, boy, that mystique is still there. I mean, now I just kind of would like to hear his true feelings. And then if he needs the translator, turn to her or him and say, shore that up a little or say what I was trying to say or just do half in Russian.
This is going to sound stupid, but one of the things I like about it, if you go back and watch the voice verses and Chevello asks him a question, seeing his reaction to the question, sometimes he'll just go, he'll just give this like little smile.
Yeah, that is funny. I like it.
And then you go, oh, what did that mean? And the translator tells you what it meant. But I don't know. I just get a kick out of it. For some reason, I know what you're saying, and I agree. But for some reason, it kind of works with Fedor.
Yeah. Well, he's right about the fact that Chael will promote the hell out of it. Couldn't Chael still promote the hell out of it? Couldn't it still be Bellator 180, unfinished business, whatever? Actually, they're both unfinished business, right? Unfinished business. Still give Fedor that spot. But, hey, guess what, Chael? You're going to have to do a lot of the interviews leading up, and Wanderlei as well and whoever else. But I still think the last fight of the night could still be Fedor. And I don't think it would be disrespectful to anybody. Wanderlei's been away for a long time, and Chael did just lose his last fight. He's actually gone around saying, I may be the worst fighter out there because he feels Tito is, and he lost to Tito. You see what I'm saying? Whereas Fedor, again, is still Fedor. That's the best way I can put it.
My other question is: Do you think either of these fights are going to be a 5-round fight? I can't see either one of them going 5 rounds. But
I don't think we need to go 5 rounds on any of them. Actually, give me the 6th fight on a pay-per-view, but don't go 5. If there's not a world title at stake, and it doesn't sound like there will be. Wait, actually, Davis may be on there. If Davis and Bader are on there, then that's a world title fight. But still, I believe it won't be the main event. So, yeah, there you go. Thanks, brother, for the call. Thanks for starting things off. All right, see ya. Has Davis accepted? Davis accepted Bader's challenge.
Yeah.
Has the promotion accepted that fight is going to be on?
You put that on there. Man,
they should.
That's going to be a fun
The timing's perfect. Oh, we signed Bader. It's March. Cool. When can we see him fight? I think we'd all go May, June. So that sits well. And I think he's earned. I don't think he needs the tune-up. I don't think he needs the welcoming to Bellator. Nah, man, I think just get him in there. That division's kind of suffered because Mo and Rampage are like money fighters, so they're jumping around.
Sometimes I like the build-up, though. I mean, let's say he comes in and let's say Davis crushes him.
Mm-hmm.
You just took a new viable asset and just
Well, they're 1-1
right away
at that point.
Yeah. Sometimes I like the build-up. I like to get teased.
All right, so let's say Javi Ayala, light heavyweight division, comes in and fights Davis and just lands something. Now you lost it, too. That's exactly what happened with Kharitonov. Hal from Chicago, you're up next. What's up, bud?
Hey, guys, you're talking about you wish that more fighters wanted to just be number one, And interestingly, Joe from H-Town is like that. He wants to be the number one caller, if you remember. And, he stopped calling ever since you stopped handing out those rankings and those mugs,
Well, so let me actually address that. For one, it'd be nice to see Joe call in. I kind of miss that guy.
Yeah, I kind of miss him, too.
No, but you know what?
Hey, Joe, I'm just kidding, Joe. Hey, don't get all hands up in the butt. All right, go ahead.
All right, so again, this is because I love Beto from Arizona, and he came up with those mugs. But I finally found I was going to have to spend about $200 to recover my hard drive and be able to extract my info for all that caller ranking bullshit. Now, you can see right here it goes, what does it say here? 320?
Doritos,
couple callers.
Oreos.
Well, besides that.
It's got the name of everybody, and it's got their rank for the call of the day.
Right. So, believe it or not, for January,
what did that
February,
guy say
I
to
still...
get a 3?
A 3?
Somebody got a 3.
I was actually Hal in Chicago.
Was it?
I don't know what he did. What'd you do yesterday? I think maybe he talked for a while, or I don't know. He's been cracking me up, though, with the Nobles and kitchen stuff. So, anyway, this has your name, the date, and what I ranked you for. So, I tracked this shit, man. I got Jersey Mike and Hal. But when my computer went down, it was all there. So, Gabe has the hardware to do that. I got to get to California. We're going to extract it, and then I'm going to sit down, crunch it. I want to mail those out. A, we need to shore up this studio a little bit. B, that guy did a nice gesture.
Yeah,
and I have all the results. So I'll have to mail them out and then forget to send to USA Today Sports my invoice. So it'll probably come out of my pocket. The retribution for sending all that, reimbursement, I should say. But yeah, man, if that's what it is, then I'll hopefully get back to that soon.
No, I'm kidding about Joe. But speaking of Gabe, he says he doesn't get enough props, for his gambling tips. So he wanted me to tell everyone that he actually called that Texas to Missouri was going to propose on a Southwest flight. He called that. He got it at plus 45,000, and he hit it. Unbelievable. He hit that parlay with Jimmy Manuwa, KO1. Amazing, that Gabe.
I think that would have been minus, wouldn't it?
Yeah, really.
I think it was probably minus 2,400 or something.
Yeah.
No, well, it's plus. He's a dog. That's nobody believed that he would actually get married. So so it's a plus. But I talked about Chito Vera and his daughter had that rare neurological syndrome, which is obviously very devastating.
Now I feel terrible. You shouldn't have gotten a 3. That was a great point you made yesterday. Maybe it was because the call took a while, but you actually did bring that up.
Yeah.
I thought you made great points. So I'm bumping you up a point right now for yesterday's call.
Oh, thanks. And you can bump me another point because you can save my mug for when I'm there in May. So there you can take one shipping off the table. And but yeah, they thought there was an epidemic in L.A. actually with that neurologic syndrome where people couldn't smile. People kept coming to the ER with those complaints. But it turns out that all those people had just been to Gabe Killian's comedy show. So it wasn't really
man, what happened there? It was some collar drama, huh?
They had rolled out. No, I just, hey, man, you want to be family? You're going to get hosted, man, okay? You're going to get hosted. All right, guys, talk to you later.
All right, later. We have time for one more? Yeah, let's do one more. Marco from Waco. What's up, Marco?
Marco from Waco. I know what Produce is making 5 or 6 points, man. That dude been hanging around too much with me on AM radio, so he grabbed a hold of my old playbook for making calls. I'm telling him not to do it, man, but, he tried to copy the best. What are you going to do?
Yeah, you did make that comment.
What's
that?
that?
Was like last week, right?
About Marco?
That one time you did tell him, hey, look, this is what you're doing, and he shorted it all up.
Right. Well, no, there's times where I want to bullshit with Marco. Like right now, he could take 2, 3, 4 minutes. We got that other commercial to do. But sometimes when there's a run of calls, then we have to tighten it up. So he has done a great job. I hear him on other shows. He does well there. But yeah, no, it's not that I like when there's less calls, then we can talk a little more, and when there isn't, then we got to blast through them. And I think everyone has a good idea of how the format is. Basically, the first 30 minutes, maybe 25, 30 minutes is like wide open. Let's talk news. You and I, hey, this is what happened or whatever. And then we'll come in, blast some calls. If the calls start lining up, then I'll maybe get to that first commercial a little sooner. But that's basically how it works. Continue, Marco.
Let's talk about all the Bellator news, man. Oddly enough, I've been paying a lot of attention, Ryan Bader finally signed a contract with Bellator. I think he explained on Helwani that, the contract had to go through some lawyers. Weird. Really weird why it took so long for him to get signed. I'm happy for the guy, he's going to make some money. And that's what we want for the fighters, we always say. But then they hit me with this pay-per-view. And, I'm a hardcore, I'm going to watch it. But I'm interested as a consumer, especially the casuals. And as for the fighters, if, first of all, how much are they going to ask to us to pay for this? Because I'm not paying $60, $70 for a Bellator show. If they put it on the $40 to $50 range, maybe they can convince me, And then, like guys like Chael, and even guys like Fedor, can they get pay-per-view points? Do they get it on their contract? Because they're on the habit of making fights without telling the guys who the opponent is. How can you negotiate a contract if you don't know who your opponent is? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's a little bit foggy for me, like shady. Don't like that direction, man. They need to get a little bit more professional about the whole thing. Whether you guys can just
Marco, hold on one second. Let's use you because you're there. You're on the line.
Okay. Cool.
It is $60 for the HD, right, guys? I don't even look at the fucking bill anymore.
A little bit more, I think.
Is it a little bit more?
63, I think, something like that.
All right, because Marco said 70. Is it ever as high as 70, excluding boxing, just in MMA?
I think in boxing you can do.
I just said excluding boxing.
I got a Spectrum that used to be Time Warner, and it's $59.99, but with taxes, it goes to $67 at the end of the day.
Fuck taxes. So but the price is $59.95, right?
Yeah, $59.95,
okay.
Yeah.
So what I want to ask is this. Is the Bellator backlash a little bit? Because I think they're going to come in with a little less, and if memory serves me right, I think they came in with a little less on Rampage versus Mo. I think I remember Bjorn talking about that. It was maybe only 29, 39, but here's my question. Fedor Mitrione, Chael Vanderlei, Davis, and Bader. Well, at 208, we paid for Randami and Holm, Silva versus Brunson, Souza versus Bosch. Aren't we about the same right there so far?
Yeah.
So if they shore it up a little bit,
I'd actually say the other one may be better.
Yeah, couldn't one just look themselves in the mirror and go, man, I just got to get over my Bellator bias and say, card versus card, if I paid for this, then I should pay for this. I mean, I present that to you, Marco. Just those three matchups alone, I think, are better than these three matchups that I just named, correct?
Yeah, name value, you're absolutely right. I'm not going to argue that. But remember, when they did their first venture on pay-per-view, they discussed that pay-per-view as a UFC event. We never really knew it was a Bellator event. And that is why they tried to get the hook, and it still only did like 100,000 buys. Mm-hmm. So, and they got Rampage, I think, headline in that.
Versus Mo, yeah. And there was Jared Brooks versus Chandler. Michael Page started things off. But, like, the three matchups I just named, I think they could still throw something else on there that would make it quality enough that one could pay the $59.
You have to, because with cards these days, you have to be worried about everybody making it to the dance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing about the UFC is if one of those fights falls off, there's usually a pretty solid undercard that you can bump up to the main card and everybody's relatively happy.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure you could do that with every Bellator card, so I would imagine just stack the hell out of it.
Yeah.
The one key thing I think, and this is just my last point, I think Chael, with his connections with ESPN, might be a little key to promote these things through maybe ESPN and make a little noise there.
Good point.
Because that maybe can get up. If you need 300,000 buys, it's a success, man. Now, we'll leave you guys catch you tomorrow.
All right, see you, Marco. See, that was 5 minutes of Marco Bliss. I enjoyed the whole time. All right, second break of this first hour. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. I know some of you may listen to us in your car, and if you always hear us spitting out MMA Junkie, that's our website, man. Check it out, MMA Junkie. 5-time winners of the World MMA Awards Best Media Source. Here's one of them for you right here. If you're in the car, you're not watching this. You shouldn't be, but you could be pulled over. I don't know. But yeah, man, we get down. We have great writers, and we have a lot of interesting stuff on our website, like the rumors tab that tells you everything that's going on, the events tab that's telling you everything that just took place. Very detailed too. Dates, names, results. You'll love it. The rankings, check that out as well. We put some time into that every day, and of course the news popping. Every 20, 30 minutes, man, there's a new story up there. So check it out. It's MMAjunkie.com, and we're MMA Junkie Radio, and we'll be right back.
They pat down TSA agents because they don't know where those people have been, and because they can. They are Gorgeous George and Goes, and this is MMA Junkie Radio.
Can I get something off my chest?
Go ahead.
On this show on Mondays, we say it's Stun Gun Monday. You can stun gun someone or something.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, we usually stun gun someone. But I'm going to give you the case of stun gunning something. You already know how I feel about baseball. I think it's a great sport for the most part. And the playoffs are awesome. They really are. I played a little bit, mostly softball though when I was older. But I mean, I know how to throw and catch and all that shit. But what still gets me is it takes 162 games to figure out who's making the playoffs, and then the playoff series, I have no problems with that. But what I don't get is why do they play 30 exhibition games to get them ready for the 162? Because guys go down in exhibition as well.
Yeah.
So why do they do that?
It is a lot, but the reasoning is probably to get through those rotations a few times.
Well, can't those guys just do that on their own? Just kind of like, a couple weeks before, you have people that you work with to loosen up your shoulders. You do some throwing on your own. I mean, do you really have to go and do fucking another 30 games? So on top of 162, there's going to be about 200 games played by these guys? You really need to do that? I mean,
that I have no argument. But the regular season, what I will say is although you are playing the same team sometimes 3-4 times in a row, it does feel like it's a different game because of the pitching matchup.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a good team like the LA Dodgers, the lineups aren't always the same.
Because they'd all be in the same boat. Let's just say that game one was like, ooh, that's a little rough. What's the beginning of the season? Well, guess what? They're all in the same boat. None of them had exhibition games, or maybe only had 1 week instead of one whole month, to shore some things up. Like the NBA, for example. The NBA will play their season, and then they'll go, all right, now it's the world team, or it's the Olympics. And guess what? LeBron will go, and they'll show up. They'll yank off their sweat. You know why? They fucking know how to play basketball. Yeah, they'll practice a little bit and go, oh, you like to cut left? All right, bet. We'll do that. My bad. In Cleveland, they usually like to cut right. Okay, they shore that up quickly. Can't they just do that in baseball? We're pros, man. We've been doing this since Little League, high school, college. I know how to field a grounder. I know what to do, in this case. I know how to back up the catcher knows how to take off his mask and back up the first baseman on an infield play or whatever. We need a whole month to shore this up. You know what to do in this situation, right? They need all that?
Probably not. Not that much, but tell me if you agree with this. Of all the sports, I feel like timing is the biggest issue in baseball, and it does take time to get that timing back. Whether it's hitting or pitching, maybe not fielding.
But you can do that on your own still, can't you?
I don't know. I don't know if it's
or can't you just sort that out in the 162 games? You'd all be working on your timing. You'd all be working on your hitting.
But look at all the idiots that are out there. I mean, people love it.
That's a good point. I think it's people that are just, hey, we can get in there.
I mean, we did spring training one time.
Our family of 6 can get in there for $8. Hot dogs are 50 cents.
Yeah.
Whereas during the year, it's a little bit more. I don't know, man. Baseball. Now, the one thing they can't do is, please, exhibition season. The one thing, though, is I get that there's so much history written that you couldn't go to 100 games because you would no longer have the 60 home run season or the 100 RBI season or the 20 wins for the pitchers. So I get the impact there, but, man, shorten things up a little bit.
That's kind of happened in basketball, too, though, because guys are coming one and done. It's a little easier for them to break records now, but I don't know.
And in football, we had the 16-game season back, 30 years ago? I think they changed that. So that changed things around a little bit. You're right. The three-point shot was added in basketball. I don't know. All right. That's the end of the first hour. When we come back, we'll talk to UFC Hall of Famer, former heavyweight champion Boss Rutten about his new show, Boss Rutten Experience. And we'll see you in a few minutes. Stay close.
I'm gonna keep on the run. I'm gonna have me some fun.
All right, here we go. It is the second hour of the MMA Junkie Radio Show. About 30 seconds, more, closer to a minute, we'll be joined by Boss Rutten, three-time king of Pancrase, also a former UFC heavyweight champion, former co-host of Inside MMA on Access TV. God, I missed that show.
Yeah.
And now a co-host of the Rutten and Ronaldo podcast, which you can catch on iTunes. Very easy to subscribe, and go ahead and leave them a review too. That helps those algorithms. So Mauro Ranallo and Boss Rutten, they been going at it. They're closing in on about a year. I think I saw an episode 50 recently. So they're doing really well there. Now, Boss's latest project is the Boss Rutten Experiment. We're going to show you a quick clip here for those of you that are watching on the video, and then we'll bring in Bossito. Go ahead, Goes.
Sweetheart, did you feed the cats?
Yeah, I fed them.
Did you turn off the coffee maker?
Yeah, it's on.
But did you set the alarm?
Don't worry, honey. We're covered.
Boss security activated.
I feel so safe.
With just one click of a button, I, Boss Rutten, will be let out of my cage to surveil your home. I'm always in shape, and I always make weight. And you ain't gonna have to worry about robberies. With Boss Security System, absolute safety. It's just one click away.
Sweetheart, wait, do you have protection?
Don't worry, honey. It's 24 hours.
Activated.
Pull out now! Security, wherever you need it.
I love it, man. Welcoming now onto the show is Boss Rutten. What's up, Boss? How you doing?
Doing great, brother. How you doing?
That was a funny clip, man. Can't wait to see the Boss Rutten Experiment. Looks like you guys spent some money, and you did great in it, man.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, we had a lot of fun. A lot of fun doing it. So if fun meets work, I think you have a good combination.
Whose idea was this? I mean, I saw the board meeting, but I don't know if that was part of the skit or you really had an idea like that.
It's the guy from Champions, Rick Lee. You know him also. He came to me together with David Spaulding. Yeah, and they said, hey, we'd like to talk to you, have a lunch. And we went to lunch, and they came up with this idea. They said, hey, why don't we let Boss just go around America and let him do crazy stuff, come up with crazy inventions, let him taking a knitting course, or selling hamburgers or whatever, anything that they can put me in, and which they think is funny. Well, they're going to bring it up to me, and then we all brainstorm about it. And we say, okay, let's do this, let's do this, let's do that, and then we'll start shooting.
That's awesome. That's very cool. The Boss Rutten Experiment, I think, so what I'm hearing is the episodes will start dropping in April?
No, this one dropped today on Champions. The one that you showed, that's I think it's a 6-minute clip. So 6-minute videos.
Right.
So they're not too long for the short attention span people here, out there, like me. And this Tuesday, and then next Tuesday, and the Tuesday after. And if people enjoy it, then we keep on shooting.
How could they not, man? We were laughing our ass off. I'm pretty tough to. I'm one of those guys where any comedian on earth, I'll go there. I'm not one of those lunatics that just laughs at everything. But I was laughing, and I love laughter. Laughter is so important in our lives, and when there's somebody in our world, the MMA world, that can provide it, I'm there to support.
Booyakasha, and that's what I like to hear. You're the man, George.
Goes, what do you have for Bossito?
Well, the one thing that stuck out for me when I was watching this was how good his acting has come along.
Right.
Just like the facial expressions that he makes and the lines, it's really come a long way. Boss, how much more comfortable do you feel now doing acting as compared to, say, maybe 5 years ago?
Yeah, that's a lot, of course. TV helps, especially if you're live, and also with Inside MMA, if you do a live show, because then you can't mess up. So once you get used to that, you also get used to how to save yourself if something does go wrong. There's all little tricks for that you can do, and then hopefully you can dig yourself out of the hole that you just buried. So, yeah, once you start doing that, you're tricking your mind. It starts working different, the better for you. And, yeah, you start getting more comfortable. And once you get more comfortable, then you can start thinking about the little things. What I always say, more is less in acting. If you go too much, well, then it's not going to work. But if you can just do it a little bit, and as long as you can focus on that, well, then it's going to go better and better. So hopefully the more calm you get, the more relaxed, the more prepared you can be, the better the outcome is going to be.
Boss, I heard you say in one of the skits, and I think this is you just playing yourself, being honest, and it was 100% true. You said, not very many people say bad things about you. And so that got me thinking, who do you trust the most to be 100% honest? Where if you were to say, this is the Boss Rutten experiment, watch this, someone you know is not going to bullshit you and say, hey, boss, yeah, it was funny, you're great. Who's that one person that you could count on to give you a straight answer?
Oh, that's simple. That's my wife. She will give it to me right away. If something is not she doesn't like, she will tell me instantly. So she's the perfect one for that, like a thermometer for comedy. So that's it. I show it to her. If she laughs, she thinks it's funny, and most of the time it's funny.
Will we see anybody else within mixed martial arts make an appearance in any of these episodes?
Oh yeah, for sure. Once we start, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Once we start going and people are gravitated towards it and they like it, yeah, we're gonna do appearances. Of course, I have a whole bunch of buddies now, and it will be great if we get them in there, just even if it's for a minute and a short appearance. But of course, it needs to be funny again.
I'd love to see a Mauro Ranallo appearance.
Yeah, maybe a Don Fry.
And he needs a little bit of payback after getting punked by Krokop. So maybe we can put him in a superhero role. But I know things are tough with him being with WWE. But, God, he's pretty funny, man.
He's hilarious. We can't wait. He and Frank rented the studio now. So we're going to shoot from a studio. So then we're going to have video as well. We're going to start adding to it. And I want people to see that. Because Mauro is that guy, also when he's commentating and you sit next to him, he's completely in his role. I mean, if there's a method actor out there, it's freaking Mauro, man. Because if we do the show, you should see, every time when I start laughing, oh, here we go again, if you hear me say that, his facial expressions, I mean, once he starts screaming and doing things, he's like completely in his own bubble, and he's that person, whoever he's talking about. It's really amazing what he does. He comes out with a documentary about his bipolar disease, and I saw a long time ago there's a skit of him that he does pro wrestling. It's over in Canada, right. And he plays the manager from some pro wrestlers, and he actually does a pro wrestling shoot, and if you see that, dude, it is so funny. I'm not going to say what it is because I'm going to give it away, but it's hilarious, and it's, again, because he just shoots in that character, and suddenly he becomes that character. You really want to strangle him when you see it. He's that good.
This is awesome, man. You guys have formed a great partnership over the years. I'm glad it's carried over to the podcast, and hopefully he can make an appearance on the Boss Rutten Experiment, which dropped today on the Champions website. You can catch it on their YouTube channel. There's 3 episodes coming your way, basically every Wednesday. And the first one, we just showed you a funny clip there. I've caught the other 3, and Boss, you guys did an awesome job. So basically, it all hinges on how these 3 do, and then others may be shot, or have you already basically committed to a certain amount of episodes past these 3?
Oh, we haven't committed yet, but it looks really good. The response we're getting from people is good. The reactions that you read, everybody likes it. Of course, there's always people who don't like it, but that's logic. I don't like certain types of humor as well. So, I think it has a great shot. Let's see what the second episode is. I think the third one, there's a third one in where I read mean tweets. We do a little Jimmy Kimmel thing, and I think that one it is really funny.
Boss, you once told us that Inside MMA came in your life at the right time because you were exiting your fighting career. And I wanted to ask you, is that what the podcast and maybe what this this show can do for you as well? Basically, I guess open up new avenues. I mean, the broadcasting will always be there, and I'm sure you'll take movie roles when they make sense for you, but I guess just new forms of entertainment.
That's it. It's up to new things. Some doors close open and other doors open up, and everything is going well. Kevin Can Wait. I don't know if you saw those episodes. I've been on the CBS show with Kevin James
and Chris,
and
yeah.
I did 4 episodes already. They really seem to love it. I mean, and I'm his neighbor. I'm his crazy Dutch weird neighbor guy who they try to involve in some crazy crazy scenes that they have, like the neighborhood watch. Somebody was trashing the mailboxes. They're going to try to find the people who did it. And it makes for a really funny episode because we're two completely different guys. He's him and I'm me, and together I think it works really well. So hopefully something more comes from that as well.
Tell me about your love for combat sports. Has it always been at a peak where you enjoyed competing, you enjoyed talking about it and covering it, or have you ever gone through like hills and valleys where you're frustrated and almost tempted to just do something completely different that didn't involve MMA or combat sports at all?
No. That was only that was a little part as soon as when I stopped. Because then there's that thing, what are you going to do next? And unfortunately, actually, I was lucky that the Pride Fighting Championship just needed commentators, and I streamed into that one. But that was a moment that you go like, oh man, what am I going to do now? Am I going to have to focus on a complete new career? Do I have to let this go? You don't know what's going to happen now. I already took acting classes. I did all that kind of stuff, but you never know if it's going to happen. The same with the commentating. I was just at the time. Every time when something happens for me, it's because at the right time and at the right place. Like the Pride Fighting Championships, then the International Fight League came, the International Fight League stopped, and then boom, Inside MMA came. Every time a new door opens. And now this happened, and hopefully we can keep on going, doing like the sitcom with Kevin James. That would be really great. And a show like this as well. And you never know what comes out of it. If it becomes bigger, if you come up with other crazy ideas that suddenly gets really hot and people enjoy, maybe something from there will be turning into a TV thing. But, nowadays, everybody's doing great. You got these YouTubers who make an incredible amount of money with doing stuff that they kind of love to do.
Right.
And that's what I always said. I was fighting. I love fighting. I never went a day to a job, so to say. It was Inside MMA was the same thing. With acting, it was the same thing. And it would be great if that happens now again.
The Champions website is champions.co, and on their YouTube channel, you can catch the first episode of the Boss Rutten Experiment, featuring former UFC heavyweight champ and current Hall of Famer, former three-time King of Pancrase, former co-host of Inside MMA, and now co-host of Rutten and Ronaldo. Follow him on Twitter at Boss Rutten MMA. Holy cow, you need like a minute to talk about all his accolades and plug everything that he's done in his life. The great Boss Rutten on the show. Here goes. You have some final questions.
I think when they'd introduce us on it, Inside MMA, it was just, here comes two guys from Vegas, right?
Exactly.
Those are our accolades. Boss, you mentioned Pride Fighting Championship, and we're coming up on the anniversary here pretty soon. I'm a fight nerd. I know how I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to sit down and watch my favorite Pride card. Probably some pizza will be involved, George. Boss, have you thought about what you're going to do that day? And is there maybe a card that stands out that you would like to watch that day?
No, I haven't thought about that. But maybe this is a good idea to hook up with Mauro, and because since he lives only 15 minutes away from my home. And we'll do something together. We'll watch something together. But it's probably... It's going to be the Randleman fight versus Crow Cup. We really want to see that again. And the Crow Cup versus Fedor. And then, of course, I would love to see if I can throw in the little video clip from me punking Mauro again, just to tie him to a chair so he has to watch it. And then we'll take it from there. See what happens.
That's funny. All right. Well, if you guys want to take it to another level, come on out to Las Vegas and we'll celebrate it together. If I'm not mistaken, with you at the wheel, you guys can get here in 2 hours, so it's not that crazy. It's not that stretch of an imagination. And then we'll have the buckets of Heinekens ready for you guys. Thank you so much, Boss, for doing the time. Good luck with the show.
Hey, thank you guys for having me on. Godspeed, everybody.
All right, take care, Boss.
Take care, brother. Bye.
Boss Rutten. Follow him on Twitter at Boss Rutten MMA. Check out the Boss Rutten Experiment. You'll laugh your ass off. It was really, really well done.
It was fun.
I thought the actors that they had on there, supporting actors, also did well. With their expressions, and it wasn't just like, hey, let's just grab this guy from the gym and that guy and his best friend. And it looked like they, also put something into this. Like whoever directed it and filmed it and the angles, and it's really well done.
What people don't understand is Boss is exactly the same way, whether he's acting here, which, I guess we call it acting, but he's just kind of like that, right? He's the same guy. And I think that's what makes people fall in love with him.
You know what I will say is the one time I saw him take it down a notch was actually here with Mauro. And the reason was, I think he knew, as animated as he is, I can't match that guy. You know, and especially Morrow with a couple Heinekens. Holy cow. I mean, he takes over. You know, and it would be like it's an all-star game with those two. You know, they're together once a week when they film their show and maybe on weekends or social, who knows. But Morrow's so busy over here, Boss is so busy over here. But literally, when they do get together like that for a weekend, like, which is what happened, it was like an NBA All-Star game. So picture Steph Curry and Russell Westbrook figuring out wait a minute, you're both used to scoring 30 points here. Who's going to have the ball most of the time, you know? And I think at that time, I could see Boss just laughing his ass off, just hanging back, letting Morrow be Morrow. But it was really, really some fun times here that weekend when they were out here. It was about a year ago.
Tell stories.
It was about a year ago, but you could just see Boss getting a kick out of letting Morrow be Morrow. Mm-hmm. And but that's probably the most subdued version you'll ever get. He really is just that animal. Well, that and his family. I've also they've come here almost on a yearly basis for a few years. So I'll see them and the family when they come in, and you can just tell, you know, I got my wife and my kids and now a grandkid, and I want to make sure they have a good time. But he comes through that door to do the show, and then all of a sudden it's on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what Goes is talking about is the anniversary, I guess, of the last Pride. You know, April 8th, 2007 was the last Pride, and we're closing in on that. It's actually a few days before our 10-year anniversary, so kind of shows you what we were doing as that was going down. Frank Trigg was their color commentator and our co-host, so it was a transition, I guess, for him. And I remember those days, Goes, where he wasn't sure, because remember he was kind of on the outs a little bit with Zuffa, and he wasn't sure what that would mean for him, or so it kind of took me back thinking about those days. And he was also coming off the Robbie Lawler KO loss too. Those weren't easy times for him.
Yeah, why don't we take a quick commercial break if we can?
All right.
I got to solve something here.
You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM, Rush 93. We'll be back after this commercial.
fun, compassion, common sense. These guys have none of that. You listen to them, so you're no better. I am awesome, though. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
This may be Danny's best day as far as music goes.
Yeah, he picked them all too.
Did he?
Yeah.
He's been on point, man.
Today is we went all the way down to the 60s or 50s.
We did?
Yeah.
Chuck Berry or something?
No. We do Way Back Wednesday.
Oh.
So now we're back up to the 2000s, and we'll work our way next time. Next week will be the 90s and the 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah, I like some of those jams. I haven't heard them in a while. Some interesting stuff here. UFC welterweight Viscardi Andrade tests positive for steroids, receives 2-year ban. That one kind of snuck in there, but it's there. A recap with our interview with Stitch Duran. He was actually a co-host of ours, so during that episode, he shared a story. He shared it years ago, maybe 6-7 years ago, about a fight involving Vanderlei Silva and Chuck Liddell. What happened was somebody asked him, Stitch, what's one of the most violent times or violent events or maybe more particular fights that you remember? And he went to that one, man. He said those guys were cracking each other. But he said despite all that, Vanderlei Silva remembered that it was his birthday and wished him a happy birthday. And that's with him actually being in Liddell's corner. It's not like Stitch really takes sides. He always works the red corner, and that's the corner that Liddell was in. But that was pretty amazing for him to be able to remember that. And the reason I say that is how many times as a fighter you can tell they have a script of what they're going to say, but they've just been out there doing it. Not against the Liddell either, but yet you can tell at the very end they're reaching for that mic, and Brian Stan or John Anik have to wave them off. They had their chance to say whatever it was, shout out to a family member or whatever, and then they forget. So Vanderlei, all composed, pulled it off. David Branch, his return against Krzysztof Jotko is official for UFC 211. These are two guys that are ranked, highly ranked too, top 10 for sure. And that fight's going to decide a lot of things, I think, along with Whitaker and Jacare. That middleweight division really is
that card
solid,
is
man. The card is insane. And you know $400 goes, gets you cage side? That's not bad. Look, I know $400 is a lot for a lot of people, including myself. But, boy, if it was a card, I was like, if you told me, hey, we can't get credentialed in Anaheim or whatever, you want to go. And I think that might, like a card like that, might be the one time if I was going to just give myself the experience, suited up and all that, that might be it. 400 is a good number. I think 400 is where, if you say it's 500, I go, now we're halfway to 1,000. I don't know about that. I mean, I'd rather it be 200 or 300, but that's just not what the market dictates. So that really is good. And if I'm not mistaken, Dallas has come strong with sellouts. So don't sleep on this. Tickets on sale today. That's more than likely the Fight Pass people. Tomorrow there's the newsletter people. They'll have their own code. Friday will be the general public. So if you want to have, you want to treat yourself, you got income tax return came back on the positive, or maybe you got that last minute bonus, hit a parlay recently. I don't know. Go out there and check it out. You'll have a good time. Also, an interview that we had with the Mandalay Bay sports director, Mike Perenio, talking about Ronda Rousey and how she helped MMA, cut the gap a little bit on boxing in terms of what their take is before fight nights. That was pretty interesting. Yeah. Dan Bilzerian, the king of Instagram, was here in studio with us as well. That interview's been recapped. They all have their video highlights. Check them out. You'll dig them. The UFC has requested 3 straight days in July at the T-Mobile Arena for International Fight Week. And more than likely it'll be a fight night, a finale, and then the pay-per-view. Who's on the card?
Roster, dude.
Who's on the card? I don't know. But, yeah, you're right, because they go at least 12 deep. Times 2 is 24. So 24 times 3 is there's 72 fighters that are probably going to get some phone calls or texts or, whatever it is, email requests to fight on these days. Good times. Can't wait for it.
It's a fun week.
Nate Diaz is tripping a little bit on he called him a fucker. Luckily Dana, I think a lot of times rolls with punches. Sometimes I think he can be taken aback too. Like, don't go overboard with the disrespect. But Nate Diaz goes, man, this fucker can't stop talking about me. You're telling lies.
Yeah, about fights that were offered and this and that.
Yeah, I think Dana does have that longer leash with the superstars, and that's what Nate Diaz is. So he'll probably get a kick out of it, I think. But someone else says something like that, he may think
Well, they're gonna get thumped.
That's where he would say, he'd call the matchmakers and go, "Hey, freeze those guys till like October or November or some shit." You know what I mean?
I think he genuinely agrees that those two guys are just different. There's nobody like them. You kind of have to understand the way they are and just take their comments for what they're worth. But I think those are the two guys that have a little bit of a longer leash than any other fighters. Maybe Conor. I think Conor's leash got tightened a little bit at times, the choke chain. But I think that's just the way they are. And I don't think they hold grudges or anything like that. I think they probably laugh about it behind the scenes.
How about Mark Diakisi, and Paul Felder? They've been going at it on Twitter. But what a great example of a guy who made the most of an opportunity. He's chirping at the right time. It is kind of a slow week for the UFC, but now a potential matchups out there, and people are talking about it. There's a lot of fighters where you go, he's what? He's 6-1 in the UFC, and you only remember like him or her, you only remember the last fight. Well, this guy's just starting things out, and he's already making noise. I love it.
Not only did he have a good performance in the cage, but afterwards, like you're right, all the stuff he's saying, but the one way that I've been able to bring this up to other people is, the guy with the red mohawk.
Right.
Boom. People remember you.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, they talked about him doing a spread in a gay magazine.
I haven't heard that.
You haven't heard that?
No.
And from what I'm hearing, he's openly gay as well.
I don't know.
So I wasn't sure if it was just, Frank Drake once did a spread for, I don't think it was a gay magazine. It was just a magazine. But he's not gay. But I'm wondering. I'm not putting it out there. I'm just wondering if I thought I heard that he's also gay himself.
I hadn't heard
that.
But,
more power to him, man. I'm a fan of that guy. He's a great fighter. Even before the finish, I was getting a kick out of just his swag, his look, and then his attacks, the kicks that he had. Like I said, he made the most of it, and I can't wait to see that fight against Paul Felder.
I'm a big judges to go home.
I'm a big Paul Felder fan as well. So that guy caught me, man, on his first fight. I was all in, and his fights do not disappoint.
And he's massive.
The last thing I wanted to say was, what was it here? Maybe that was it. Dana White? Yeah, no, I guess that was it. Well, no, I guess he has been talking a little bit more about Mayweather McGregor. About 2 months ago, he said he'd have a better chance of being in the Super Bowl than that fight happening. Did he just mean at this particular moment?
Well,
we're way up
overall.
Right. So that's the part where I think it irritates fans, because this is more innocent. It's like, oh, I thought you said it wasn't going to happen, and now it's going to happen. That's no big deal. But it's when you say, like, when he says so-and-so sucks, and then he signs him a month later. It's like, wait a minute, he just said he sucked. Like, why'd you say that at that time?
What really kind of put me over on this fight
is,
I believe it was TMZ that asked him. And they brought it up, and now he's saying, well, don't be so sure that Floyd Mayweather is just going to run away with this. Conor's got a chance. Those are remarks of a guy that I think knows this is going to happen.
Yeah,
now
and he's in promoter mode. I know what I was going to say was, there is, TMZ is obviously the one that stalks the airports or whatever, but this one was called SL17 or I forget what. The video is funny. Have you seen it? He's with this guy, Eddie Elliott, the video guy, and they're walking through the airport just in their normal strut, and you see the guy creep up on him, right? And he goes, hey, man, what's up? And you see Dana's walking. He's kind of taking, he's a little startled, and he just goes, hey. He goes, boy, they let you do this here too, huh? But you could just tell he's like, I can't get away from these motherfuckers.
I don't know why, but people getting startled makes me laugh so
Me too,
much.
man. It made me laugh. And then he played ball. He answered like 2-3 questions, and then he ducked in and did his thing. I think it was an airport. That's what it looked like, right?
Yeah.
But it was just kind of like, he goes, hey. He goes, boy, they let you in here too, huh? You're everywhere.
I saw somebody do that in the restroom here during March Madness. The guy was taking a leak, and you form the line. I guess his buddy, I don't know, just crept up on him behind him, and he didn't whisper because it was kind of loud, but he was right by his ear, and he just goes, we got reservations at 8, and the guy's going, whoa, what the fuck? It was so funny.
Oh, man. Yeah, we got to move here at the studio where we've gotten some people. Dan Tom got a good one the other day, right?
Yeah.
Was it you that got him? Yeah,
I got him good, yeah. That's when he
I've gotten Sammy the Squid.
And his body all cramped up and everything.
Yeah,
Matt gets it pretty good.
That's probably the level of what I'll take for practical jokes nowadays. You know, like I would not want to go outside and see my car toilet papered or written on, and just somebody play it off as a joke. I mean, unless I was filthy rich and I can go, oh right, okay, I'm filthy rich, I'll deal with this later. But I leave here stressed out. I get here stressed out. So I see that, man, I'll be livid. But just someone scaring me, I think you just have to give me a second to go, oh, you know, I may call you a expletive or two, and then I kind of start to giggle because it is pretty funny.
I like practical jokes, but you got to do it with people that you know aren't going to take it too far. There's some people that hit the panic button and then they just do easy stuff, you know? Stuff that you kind of have to take serious. You know, they get your boss to call you, tell you you're fired. Like, of course that's going to freak you out.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be more clever about the whole thing. Know what I mean?
iTunes reviews.
Sure.
We're starting to close the gap here. You guys really came strong, and again, it helps us out tremendously.
Keep going.
When you leave these, we're at 494. If we can get to 500, that'd be nice. And then, of course, the new goal will be 1,000.
I want to get to 500 by our 10-year anniversary.
Mm-hmm. When you leave these, it helps us out a lot, and it just helps your placement, your rankings, your potential advertising. So we do it for our friends too, like Rutten and Ronaldo. They're doing their show, and you can subscribe on iTunes. I'm sure there's many ways you can grab it, but that's one way. Boss was talking about adding a video component soon. You know, a lot of people will say, why do you promote it? Why do you do that? That's your competition. You know, you're right, it is, but, man, that's just us. Maybe one day it will cost us. Maybe one day, you know, people just, I caught other shows, and now I use my time for that one and another, and I don't catch your 2 hours or whatever. But I've just always felt like there's just
be confident in what you do.
Yeah, and you support us, we'll support you, and you know I mean, we were at least a half dozen times between the two of us over at Inside MMA.
Yeah.
You know, and that didn't just come from Inside MMA. You know, there was a push from the hosts or others involved, and so it meant a lot to us. You know, but you know, all that aside, I would still do it. I would still tell you to drop it. I don't know. There's a chance that you know, I don't know. Yeah, I just like to do that. I've done it for Frank and Richard and Boss and Morrow, and never fearing that, oh my God, we might lose a viewer or listener or whatever. And if it happens, it happens. But anyway, let's do one real quick because I think they're calling in soon with Sergei Kharitonov. Filthy Philly. Awesome show, 5 stars. This is an iTunes review. One of the best podcasts I've ever heard. Very informative. I wish I would have found out about them sooner. The next one is from Brandon in Louisville. Great show. Gets me through a work day. 5 stars. I've been listening for over 7 years. Guys really know how to put on an entertaining and informative show. I'm no longer able to listen live due to work, but the podcasts are a great way to kill 2 or more hours of my workday. This is more than a podcast. It's a family. Man, that's cool. Thank you for saying it like that, Brandon, the way you phrased it. Danny, are we ready to go with Sergei Kharitonov?
No, we need to take a break.
Oh, all right. Let's do that. You are listening to MMAjunkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. We'll take a break, and then we'll come back and talk to Bellator heavyweight Sergei Kharitonov, who fights Chase Gormley at Bellator 175 on March 31st. Stay close.
Let's get it to him, baby girl. Hey.
They were forged from the same ball sack, but act as though they've never met. They are the brothers Garcia, Gorgeous George and Goes.
All right, we're back, and we're coming down the home stretch of another fine edition of MMA Junkie Radio. We do this show 2 hours a day, live from the Racing Sportsbook here at the Mandalay Bay Resort Casino. Stop on by and pay us a visit. Just bring that camera. You never know who will be in studio with us. Recent guests include UFC lightweight Kevin Lee, the king of Instagram, Dan Bilzerian, and, of course, boxing and MMA legendary cutman Stitch Duran. Now joining us as our final guest of the day, it's Sergei Kharitonov, who will be fighting Chase Gormley March 31st at the Allstate Arena in Rosemont, Illinois. If you can't get there, just know that Spike has you covered with a 9 p.m. Eastern start time and 6 p.m. Pacific. Of course, your headliner that night will be Quinton Jackson versus Muhammad Lawal. Joining us now is Sergei Kharitonov and his translator, Mike. Hello, Sergei. How you doing?
Good.
All right. Well, Sergei, listen, I wanted to ask you right off the bat, what are your goals now that you have signed with a North American promotion like Bellator?
Сергей, какие у тебя планы сейчас? Ты подписал вот с Беллатором. Какие у тебя планы, амбиции?
Амбиции только одни — стать чемпионом и не оглядываться назад, что было вчера. Конечно, однозначно впереди. Это первое, это победить в следующем поединке и попросить матч-реванш у организации. Ну и стать чемпионом.
Okay. So his immediate goals are to beat Chase Gormley, ask for a rematch against Javier Ayala, and long term to get a belt. He wants to be a champion.
Okay, well that's great to hear. We're now in an era where a lot of fighters are very blunt about the fact that they just want to get paid, you know, or anything but the title hunt. So we're happy to hear that Sergei has made it a goal to become a world champion with Bellator, and that's why I was asking. So it sounds like the Ayala fight is also, I guess that just has bothered him. Did he see it as an upset, I guess, because of, you know, his stature versus Ayala's in the game?
Ну, очевидно, что Хави Аяла бой тебе очень как бы разочаровал. Ну, не разочаровал, даже больше как раздражает. Ты думаешь, что это было как бы случайно или правда, ну, пропустил просто удар, ну, или, знаешь, там, вот, как лаки панч, там, случилось?
Я никогда не говорю, что это была случайность. Это была моя недоработка. Однозначно, я к следующему бою подойду в максимально лучшей форме и сделаю все для победы.
I would never say an upset. I don't believe in upsets. I don't believe in lucky punches. I believe that it was my mistake and he capitalized on it. So I don't want to take that away from him, but I will prepare for him, and I would like to have a rematch.
Yeah, much respect. I love that answer. All right. Sergei Kharitonov, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. He fights Chase Gormley March 31st at Bellator 175. All right, I'm going to pass it to my co-host, Goes. Goes, what do you have for Sergei and his translator, Mike?
Sergei, when you took a break from mixed martial arts and you did kickboxing, can you tell us a little bit what your mindset was during that? Did you feel like you needed a break from mixed martial arts?
Сергей, когда ты отстранился от смешанных боев, mixed martial arts, и перешел на кикбоксинг больше, это специально было? Ты чувствовал, что тебе нужно просто отдохнуть от ММА, или просто так получилось?
Нет, я никогда не отходил от ММА, я выступал и там, бой проводил по кикбоксингу, бой проводил по ММА. То есть я тренировался вместе, тренировал и борьбу, и столько, так что считаю, что ударные виды спорта только дали мне плюс для ММА. Самое главное для меня это ММА.
Yeah. So he doesn't really feel like he stepped away from MMA. He was doing both, and he was training in both. He felt like, you know, training and fighting in kickboxing only helped his MMA stand-up game. So he doesn't feel like he stepped away from it. And no, he doesn't need a break from MMA.
MMA has always seemed like it's been fairly popular in Russia, but in the last say, 3 years, it seems like it's taken a significant jump in its growth. Is there anything that he feels that he can attribute that growth to?
В России смешанные единоборства всегда были как бы так популярны, но очень такие, в смысле, между сильными фанатами и любителями. А сейчас видно, что оно более развивается в России и более популярное становится, и диапазон фанов расширяется. Почему ты думаешь, это происходит?
Ну, потому что однозначно сейчас все показывают по телевизору, все это освещается, и так и для нормальных, для здоровых людей это естественно, когда видят, как сильнейшие бойцы дерутся, и молодые ребята хотят тоже стать сильнейшими, и приходит конкуренция, и все идут вперед, как говорится, и идут, чтобы стать лучшими. Однозначно, я бы очень хотел, Беллатор прошел именно в России. Турнир Беллатор прошел в России. И я думаю, что, не знаю, мне почему-то так кажется, что Беллатор придет в Россию раньше, чем UFC.
So, he thinks that the biggest surge in MMA popularity in Russia is that it's on TV, so exposure. People can actually watch it on TV. And then, of course, it's just fighting is an exciting sport. So once people are exposed to it, they get to see it, and then they get to see some of their heroes and some of the Russian fighters that are doing well worldwide. And then the young kids want to be like them, and then, and so on and so forth. But the biggest reason is probably the exposure, that it's on TV right now. And, particularly Bellator and the UFC, they're being played on national network in Russia, so people get to see it. And he feels like, Bellator is probably getting pretty close to going to Russia, and hopefully, can put on a show there and will be very successful.
Mike, can you ask him, like here in the United States, a lot of times, even though we're one country, sometimes we're divided in sports by, somebody on the West Coast will go, oh, he's on the East Coast, we do it better over here. Is it the same in Russia, where like maybe the success of Khabib Nurmagomedov or Fedor back in the day, or any other Russian, like do the Russians also have rivalries according to different areas of the country, or do they all support each other and their successes?
В Америке иногда, даже не иногда, а большинство времени, страна, как бы разбита. То есть те, кто на Западе живут, они поддерживают спортсменов и бойцов с Запада, а те, кто на Востоке, поддерживают бойцов, которые с Востока, там, с Нью-Йорка, нью-йоркцы. В России это также территориально или более там вся страна поддерживает? Допустим, вот Хабиб Нурмагомедов, он с Дагестана, но очень популярен в России.
Его поддерживает вся страна, и однозначно везде, в каждом регионе есть свои фанаты. Россия — это одно целое.
No, in Russia, they're pretty united. So if you represent Russia and you fight as a Russian fighter, then the whole country supports you.
That's good to hear. All right, my last question is, we really enjoyed the outline he gave us where he wants to take care of business against Chase Gormley, possibly rematch Javier Yella, and then eventually fight for a title. Who does he believe he will be fighting for a world title in Bellator if he can get past these guys? And also, who would he like to face, and who does he believe will be waiting for him when he does compete for a world title at Bellator?
Они хотят знать, когда придет время тебе биться за титул, с кем ты думаешь, ты будешь биться? То есть, кто ты думаешь будет твой соперник?
Честно говоря, это очень
как титул сейчас.
Это непростой вопрос сейчас, и повторяю, да, что первая для меня задача это сегодняшний поединок, да. Однозначно я попрошу организацию, хочу попросить матч-реванш с Аялой. Ну, а дальше все может так поменяться кардинально. И сегодня один претендент, завтра другой. В ММА, даже и в Беллаторе, и в других организациях. Все так, на самом деле, не постоянно сейчас, потому что огромная конкуренция, и посмотрим. Все будет видно. Сначала сейчас нужно победить, а потом будем рассуждать.
You said it's kind of a complex question. You know, MMA is so unpredictable. Things switch. You know, 1 minute one guy's on top, and the next minute the next guy's on top. So right now, what's in his immediate goal and what he's looking at is fighting Chase Gormley and then asking for a rematch against Javi Ayala. And then once that's done with, then he'll see who's next and who's ahead and who's fighting for title.
Well, thank you both for doing the show. We really appreciate it. And if you can just let Sergei know, we've been fans of his for a long time, going back all the way to the Pride days. He did such great work there over in Strikeforce, you know, and it's just great to see him back in North America and now fighting for Bellator.
Спасибо за то, что делаешь шоу, и очень приятно видеть тебя, что ты делаешь в Северной Америке, в Штатах.
Благодарю.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for doing the show. We appreciate it. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
All right, folks. That's Sergei Kharitonov and his translator, Mike. Thanks to Dan for hooking that up from Bellator. And he'll be fighting versus Chase Gormley here in about 9 days away. Fight on the 31st. Headliner there is Quinton Rampage Jackson versus King Mo, Part 2. And hopefully that starts to pick up some steam, because I think once they get to the fight week and there's more mics and cameras in their faces,
chirping?
I think so. They're going to be chirping. It's going to be funny, man.
Yeah, we're dorks, man. We love that stuff.
By the way, Quinton Rampage Jackson will be on our show next Monday, and tomorrow will be guest co-hosts for the first hour will be John Gunderson and John Wood from the Syndicate Gym. Also joining us tomorrow will be Valentina Shevchenko. We'll see if we can get our thoughts on maybe one of those 3 cards in July. That might be a landing spot there. I heard her say July.
I think it is, dude.
And if it's too soon, then maybe Southern California. That'd be pretty cool, right?
I think Vegas has
that's later in
all over it.
Think so?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if there's a so you agree that it could be one of these 3 shows?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think it'd be pretty cool. So we'll talk to her. So just a little bit of a preview there of what's upcoming. Definitely want to thank our guests today. Boss Rutten joining us earlier. This hour, he's got a new series available on Champions website. It's champions.co. If you want to check it out, they have the links there to the first show that dropped, and it's called The Boss Rutten Experiment. You can go straight to the YouTube channel if you want, and there's 3 coming your way on successive Wednesdays, this Wednesday, next Wednesday, the 29th, and then the first week in April. And according to how it goes, and I'm here, it's going well and being well received. They'll produce more of these. I sent him to Goes this morning. He was laughing his ass off. So check him out on Twitter, Boss Rutten MMA. Sergei, believe it or not, has a Twitter, but only tweeted once back in 2011, and that's it. I couldn't track anything else down.
What did it say?
Coming off a win over Arlovsky. This is my first tweet, everybody. You know.
And then he was just like,
that was it. That was it. I guess he had enough at that point. Enough. All right. So, again, tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, with John Wood, the head coach over at Syndicate, Khalil Roundtree, Roxanne Modafferi. You've seen him in the corner of many fighters. Tom Lawler. He'll be here, as well as John Gunderson, former UFC veteran of many promotions, but he did do some time in the UFC, and they're both Vegas locals. So they'll be co-hosting the first hour, and then Valentina Shevchenko will come in the second hour. Not in studio, sorry. She'll call in. And still looking to lock in maybe another guest or 2 as well. So for Danny back east and Goes to my left, I'm George. Have a nice day. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you all tomorrow with another edition of MMA Junkie Radio. Until then, be champions.
Viva!